There's a conversation happening in laboratories across the world right now that most people will never hear about. Not because it's classified, not because it's complicated, but because nobody's making money off of you knowing it. Here's what they found: the progressive weakening in your legs that most people chalk up to just getting older. The heaviness, the instability, the stairs that suddenly feel like mountains. That's not an inevitable feature of aging. It's a deficiency problem, a biological problem, and in many cases, a fixable problem. But here's what makes this urgent. Research tracking adults over 65 found that significant lower body weakness doesn't just affect your quality of life. It dramatically accelerates your timeline toward nursing home placement, fall-related hospitalization, and early death. We're not talking about minor inconvenience. We're talking about a chain of events that begins quietly in your kitchen. Every single day, you don't know what you're about to learn. Today, we're going to break that chain. 7 minutes from now, you're going to understand exactly which foods your muscles have been starving for, ranked from surprisingly powerful to genuinely life-altering. And I'll warn you right now, the number one food on this list is something millions of seniors have been actively avoiding based on advice that modern science has completely dismantled. Stay with me, because what's waiting at the end of this list could be the most important thing you've read all year. Before we start, a quick question. How long has it been since your legs felt truly strong? Not just functional, not just getting by strong, actually, confidently, comfortably strong. Drop your answer in the comments, because this channel exists for real people with real stories, and every comment you leave has the potential to reach someone else who's been quietly struggling and didn't know help was this close. Now, let's count down. Number 6. Eggs. The most wrongly convicted food in history. Let's start by clearing the room of one of the biggest nutritional myths of the last half-century. Eggs were put on trial, convicted, and sentenced without proper evidence. Millions of seniors threw out the yolks, switched to egg whites, or abandoned eggs altogether, following guidance that has since been largely overturned by the very institutions that helped spread it. So what does the actual science say? Eggs, whole eggs, yolk included, are one of the most efficient delivery systems for a specific amino acid called leucine. And leucine is not just any amino acid. It functions as a biological ignition switch for muscle repair. Without enough of it, your body simply cannot rebuild the muscle fibers that break down during everyday movement. Here's where aging makes this critical. After your mid-60s, your muscles develop what researchers call anabolic resistance. Think of it like a lock that's gotten stiff over time. The key still works, but you have to press harder. Leucine is that pressure, and 2 to 3 whole eggs deliver enough leucine to meaningfully push through that resistance and trigger real muscle protein synthesis, even in older adults. But the yolk does something else that almost nobody talks about. It contains choline, a nutrient essential for the nerve signals that tell your leg muscles to fire. It contains vitamin D, one of the most deficient nutrients in adults over 65. And it contains phosphatidylcholine, which maintains the structural integrity of your muscle cell membranes, essentially keeping the walls of each muscle cell intact so nutrients can get in and waste products can get out. Throwing away the yolk isn't playing it safe. It's throwing away the most therapeutically valuable part of the entire food. 2 to 3 whole eggs in the morning, cooked gently, not blasted on high heat, paired with a small amount of healthy fat to maximize absorption of those fat-soluble nutrients in the yolk. Simple, affordable, backed by science. Number 5. Wild-caught salmon. Fighting the fire you can't feel. Here's something nobody tells you about aging muscles. They're on fire. Not literally, but at a cellular level, chronic low-grade inflammation is quietly burning through your muscle tissue, degrading connective fibers, interfering with nerve-to-muscle signaling, and accelerating the very weakness you're trying to reverse. You can't feel this inflammation the way you feel a cut or a bruise. It's silent, slow, and cumulative. Wild-caught salmon is one of the most powerful anti-inflammatory foods on the planet, and the mechanism is specific enough to matter. The omega-3 fatty acids in salmon, EPA and DHA don't just generally reduce inflammation. They directly neutralize a class of inflammatory compounds called prostaglandins and cytokines that your body begins producing in increasing amounts as you age. Research following older adults over an 18-week period found that consistent omega-3 intake equivalent to roughly 3 servings of wild salmon per week produced a 22% increase in muscle protein synthesis rate compared to those who didn't consume it. 22%, not from a pharmaceutical, from a fish. But here's the second layer, and this one matters just as much. Salmon is one of the only foods on Earth that naturally contains vitamin D3 in meaningful amounts. And vitamin D3 deficiency, which affects the vast majority of adults over 65, is directly linked to muscle weakness, poor balance, and accelerated muscle loss. A single 6-ounce serving of wild-caught sockeye salmon can deliver close to 1,000 international units of D3. That alone makes it one of the most targeted foods you can eat specifically for leg strength. One critical note, wild-caught matters. Farmed salmon has a fundamentally different fat profile and does not deliver the same anti-inflammatory effect. Read the label, 2 to 3 servings per week. Pair it with dark leafy greens, for reasons you're about to understand. Number 4, dark leafy greens, the blood flow, secret aging bodies. Desperately need picture the circulation system in your legs like a network of roads. When you're young, those roads are wide, clear, and well-maintained. Traffic flows freely. Nutrients get delivered on time. Waste gets cleared efficiently. As you age, and especially after 75, those roads begin to narrow, not dramatically, gradually, silently, and the traffic slows. The key molecule responsible for keeping those roads open is called nitric oxide. It acts as a natural vasodilator, a compound that signals your blood vessels to expand and allow more flow. And here's the problem. Your body's ability to produce and recycle nitric oxide drops significantly with age. The result is muscles that receive less oxygen, less fuel, and less recovery support. All of which compounds into exactly the weakness and fatigue most seniors assume is just normal. Dark leafy greens, spinach, kale, Swiss chard, arugula are loaded with dietary nitrates. Your body converts these nitrates into nitric oxide using bacteria that naturally live in your saliva. It's essentially a biological workaround, using food to restore a function that aging has begun to compromise. Research from a leading European institute found that nitrate intake at doses equivalent to roughly 2 cups of cooked spinach improved skeletal muscle efficiency in older adults by nearly 20%. The muscles didn't increase in size, they simply became dramatically better at using the oxygen and nutrients already arriving. That's the equivalent of retuning an engine without replacing any parts. Spinach also delivers magnesium, a mineral the majority of older adults are chronically deficient in, and magnesium is what allows your muscles to fully relax after contraction. If your legs cramp at night, if your calves seize without warning, that's frequently a magnesium signal. 1 cup of cooked spinach covers over 1/3 of your daily magnesium requirement. Sauté your greens in olive oil. The fat dramatically increases absorption of the fat-soluble compounds. This is not optional, it's chemistry. If you've learned something in the last few minutes that surprised you, hit the like button right now. It takes 1 second and it helps this information reach the people who need it most. And if you want more content like this every week, content grounded in real research, designed for real people, subscribe before you forget. The button is right there. Number 3, full-fat Greek yogurt, the gut connection. Nobody saw it coming. There is a revolution happening in muscle science right now that most people haven't caught up to yet. For decades, we thought of muscles and digestion as completely separate systems. One was in your legs, the other was in your stomach. They didn't talk. That model has been completely overturned. Researchers have now identified what's being called the gut-muscle axis, a direct communication pathway between the microbial community living in your digestive system and the muscle tissue in your body. And the implications for aging adults are staggering. Studies have found that older adults with more diverse, robust gut microbiomes have measurably greater lean muscle mass, higher leg strength scores, and faster recovery times from physical exertion than those with depleted gut populations. The gut isn't just digesting your food, it's actively governing how much of that food your muscles can actually absorb and use. After 65, gut microbiome diversity naturally declines, which means your muscles start receiving a smaller and smaller fraction of the protein and nutrients you eat. Not because you're eating less, but because the system responsible for extracting and delivering those nutrients is becoming less efficient. Full-fat Greek yogurt addresses this on two fronts simultaneously. First, it delivers 17 to 20 grams of highly bioavailable protein per cup, including the full spectrum of branched-chain amino acids your muscles use for repair. Second, it contains live probiotic cultures that help restore the gut microbiome diversity that aging erodes, rebuilding the delivery system itself. Think of it this way. You can keep restocking a warehouse, but if the delivery trucks are broken down, the shelves stay empty. Greek yogurt helps fix the trucks. Always choose plain, full-fat versions. Low-fat yogurts compensate for the removed fat with added sugar, which drives the exact inflammation you're working against. Consume it within 30 to 45 minutes after any physical movement, even a short walk, when your muscles are most actively receptive to incoming protein. Number 2. Beets, the performance food that science gave to elite athletes. First, there's a reason elite endurance athletes started drinking beet juice years before anyone talked about it publicly. The results were too good to ignore. And the biology that makes beets transformative for a 25-year-old marathon runner is the same biology that makes them potentially life-changing for a 70-year-old who wants to walk to the mailbox without stopping to rest. Beets contain dietary nitrates in concentrations 3 to 4 times higher than almost any leafy green. When those nitrates reach muscle tissue, especially tissue that's partially oxygen deprived, which is exactly what aging muscle is, they convert into nitric oxide with remarkable efficiency, triggering a vasodilatory cascade that dramatically expands blood flow to the legs. But here's the finding that genuinely stopped researchers in their tracks. A university study on older adults found that consuming beet juice equivalent to roughly 2 medium beets before moderate exercise increased blood flow, not just to the legs, but to the specific regions of the brain responsible for motor control and coordination. The brain's ability to send accurate movement signals to the legs improved. For anyone worried about falls, about coordination, about that frightening disconnect between what you want your body to do and what it actually does, that finding is enormous. Beets also contain a compound called betaine, which helps reduce homocysteine, a chemical associated with accelerated muscle loss and mitochondrial damage in older adults. Your muscle cells' mitochondria are their energy generators. Elevated homocysteine is essentially corrosive to those generators. Betaine helps neutralize it. Roast your beets at around 400 degrees for 45 to 60 minutes. This concentrates the nitrates without destroying them, or blend raw beets with citrus juice. The vitamin C significantly boosts nitrate conversion. Do not boil them for extended periods. The compounds you want are water-soluble, and they'll disappear down the drain. Number 1. Extra virgin olive oil, the most underestimated muscle medicine on the planet. For decades, fat was the villain. Avoid it, replace it, substitute it with something lighter, something synthetic, something that came in a plastic bottle and contained ingredients you needed a chemistry degree to pronounce. Millions of people, especially older adults who were trying to do the right thing, followed that advice faithfully. And in doing so, they unknowingly removed one of the most powerful muscle-protective compounds from their diet entirely. Extra virgin olive oil is not just a healthy fat. It is, at the molecular level, a pharmacologically active substance. And the research behind what it does to aging muscle tissue is some of the most compelling in modern nutrition science. Here's where it starts. Extra virgin olive oil contains a polyphenol called oleocanthal. Oleocanthal inhibits the same inflammatory enzymes targeted by ibuprofen and other anti-inflammatory medications through an identical biological mechanism. The difference is it does this without the gastrointestinal damage, kidney stress, and cardiovascular risks associated with long-term NSAID use. For older adults who rely on anti-inflammatories for joint and muscle pain, that distinction is clinically significant. But the muscle-specific story goes much deeper. A multi-year study following hundreds of adults over 65 found that those who consumed approximately 4 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil daily experienced a 37% lower incidence of sarcopenia, the progressive involuntary loss of muscle mass that accelerates dramatically after age 60, compared to those who rarely consumed it, 37%, from a dietary fat. Here's the mechanism researchers found most remarkable. The polyphenols in extra virgin olive oil appear to directly activate what's called the mTOR signaling pathway inside muscle cells. The mTOR pathway is the master switch for muscle protein synthesis. The same switch activated by leucine, by resistance exercise, by anabolic hormones. Olive oil polyphenols can flip that switch independently, without exercise, without hormonal support. At the cellular level, regardless of what else is happening. After 70, your body loses a significant portion of its mTOR sensitivity. Muscle building becomes harder, not just because of lifestyle factors, but because the biological machinery responsible for building muscle is running at reduced capacity. Extra virgin olive oil appears to partially recalibrate that machinery, to reset a switch that aging has slowly been dimming. And then there's the mitochondrial layer, a compound called hydroxytyrosol, found abundantly in extra virgin olive oil, protects the DNA inside your muscle cells' mitochondria from oxidative damage. Every year, oxidative stress degrades mitochondrial DNA, like static accumulating on a radio signal. The instructions get fuzzier, the energy output drops, the muscles respond more slowly, fatigue faster, and eventually stop keeping up. Hydroxytyrosol appears to slow that degradation, protecting the very power source that makes muscle contraction possible. 4 tablespoons daily is the evidence-based target. Use it as your primary cooking fat for low to medium heat. Pour it generously over your eggs, your salmon, your greens. Buy it in dark glass bottles from producers who print a harvest date, not just an expiration date. Polyphenol content degrades with light exposure and time. Fresh, high-quality extra virgin olive oil is medicine. The cheap, clear bottled version sitting under fluorescent lights since last year is just calories. What happens when you combine all 6? Here's the part that changes everything. These 6 foods don't just work individually, they work as a system. The leucine in eggs activates the same muscle-building pathway that olive oil polyphenols support. The omega-3s in salmon reduce the inflammation that would otherwise block recovery. The nitrates in spinach and beets restore the blood flow that delivers all of these nutrients to your muscles in the first place. The probiotics in Greek yogurt rebuild the gut infrastructure that determines how efficiently your body uses every single thing on this list. Eat them together consistently, and the cumulative effect is dramatically greater than any single food could produce on its own. This is not a supplement protocol. This is not a prescription. These are 6 foods available at virtually any grocery store in the world, foods that your body has been quietly asking for, in the language of fatigue and weakness and instability, for years. You were not designed to sit on the sideline. There's a version of the next 10 years where you hold the railing on every staircase, where you decline the hike because you're not sure your legs will cooperate, where you watch from a chair while the people you love move through the world freely. And there's another version, same person, same age, same biology, but fed differently. The research on this is unambiguous. Muscle tissue retains the capacity to grow, repair, and strengthen well into the 9th decade of life. The body does not give up. It waits. It sends signals, through weakness, through fatigue, through instability, that it needs different raw materials. Today, you have those materials. Start with 1 food from this list at your next meal, just 1, and build from there. Because the goal isn't perfection. The goal is momentum, and momentum, once started, has a way of carrying people back to lives they thought were behind them. All research referenced in this video is available in the description. Share it with your doctor. Share it with someone you love who's been struggling and doesn't know why. And leave a comment below. Which food on this list are you starting with first? Tell me where you are in this journey. This community reads every single one. Until next time, eat with intention, move with purpose, and remember, strong doesn't have an expiration date.